And it says we're live. I'm I'm hoping StreamYard is doing well. Sabaho everybody, Sabaho everybody, Sabaho. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's truly the best way to describe it because depending on where you are in the world, it's going to be a different time, obviously. So Sabaho to everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning with Tech, episode 47. Today is on November 21st, 2020. So it's 1121-2020. An interesting combination of numbers at the end of this year that has been, I would say, definitely an interesting year, a very much a whirlwind of different things going on. But in today's video, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the iPhone 12 mini. Now, last week we had the opportunity to check it out. I barely got the phone in. Mehmet is in the comment. Good morning. Good morning, Sabaho. Let me just bring it up. Boom, perfect. I've had the phone for about a week now, and I've been kind of like a little bit. I'm a little bit torn between the comparison that I'd like to do to this phone because I feel like the cameras and what the iPhone 12 is offering is already kind of been established, and the mini for the most part is a smaller form factor, so essentially all of the same features with the exception of the screen size and the battery. So we get 5G, we get the A14, we get the the storage capabilities, all of the things, the stereo speakers, the wireless charging, and of course we got a smaller form factor. So we have a dual camera setup, a standard and an ultra wide, and of course we have a front facing camera, 4K, obviously 60 frames per second, beautiful all across. Manikit is in there. Good morning. And but today's conversation I wanted to talk to you guys about is that there has been reports of some screen issues or devices or people that have had the iPhone 12 mini that have had problems with their screen. And I've actually been one of those people. I mentioned it on Monday on Juan Carlos's live stream. I was in the comments during that time, and he mentioned it that there was some people that were talking about the issues. And I would have to say that the issues are intermittent. They're not consistent, and they tend to work themselves out after some time. And what I mean by this is the touch sensitivity, touch responsiveness of the display. For me, every once in a while, just goes out the door, meaning it just doesn't register when I'm trying to touch it. Like it's locked. I have the device on the table. I'm picking it up. It requires me to put in my PIN. So I put in my PIN, but it doesn't register all my touches, even though I'm touching it. And I do have that on film, which luckily I was able to get it because every time I wanted to record it, I have to forget to record or forget to actually kind of get the conversation on camera. So the main thing I want to talk to you guys about was that. The other part, obviously, is that, as you probably already saw, I did pick up the Xbox Series X, and I was able to find one, not that, a little bit more than, obviously, I didn't buy it at retail, but I did. I feel like, in my opinion, it was worth enough and at least saved me from having to deal with all of going to different stores and trying to pick up a unit. So the short answer is... So Mehmet is coming in. Yeah, definitely. They're definitely expensive, and that's one of the issues that I've had with this device. The fact that although the smallest of all devices, although the smallest amount of storage on any of these, the iPhone 12 devices that you're able to pick up, it does start at $750, $50 more than what the iPhone 11 was last year, and that just something to be a little bit concerned, especially with the issues, especially when it has touch sensitivity issues on the device. Now, I'm not sure if everybody's dealing with this. I do know that people have reported it, and it's making me a little bit concerned that it's just a brand new phone that I just picked up, paid, full retail, obviously, 750 plus tax in the US, is having these issues. And I'm a little bit leery to trying to see if this is something sorry, I always want to say Samsung, but I'm not sure if Apple can actually do something about this. Can they actually fix this with software? Is this a software issue, or is it truly a panel issue, meaning something goes bonkers or something just doesn't register correctly on the panel every once in a while? Aditya, good morning, sir. Good morning. The black iPhone 12 mini looks good. It does look nice. I have to say that the definitely the you know what? This I have to put this one up. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure, Joe. Definitely. So first thing, Sabaho, good morning. Hope you and the fam are doing great. And by the way, the beard is on point. I saw it last week when you guys were on the show with Across the Podcast. That was just crazy there. It definitely has basically an interesting dilemma that Apple is still forcing people to even consider. This is very similar to the way Samsung is doing it, where they give you an option as a device option or a selection, which generally is the entry level into that realm of devices. But it makes no sense for it to be 64 gigs, because what happens essentially is, unless you've owned the phone that you always reset and you never transfer any of your data, or You're paying a monthly fee to have Apple storage on the cloud that enables you to basically clear out your internal storage to use 64 gigs. 64 gigs in 2020 doesn't make sense. 128 should be the bare minimum, and we've had this conversation when Apple used to sell the 32 gig iPhones as an entry level, and then at some point they moved away. And I think they only move away when it becomes the same conversation at the next tier or the next level. The fact that they give us devices that are capable of shooting 4K 60 frames per second and really, really good footage on all the cameras that we have, and they're all the new technologies, they're still limiting you with that, meaning that if you do want to get a decent iPhone 12 mini with a decent amount of storage, you have to jump into the next tier level, which is more than the 750. Again, 750 is the entry level on by far the smallest physical size iPhone ever made. Now, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. Not ever made. The smallest iPhone that we can get within the recent years. It's actually small enough that, and I did say this a long time ago, it's physically smaller than the iPhone SE, which essentially was the small iPhone that was released not that long ago. This is a 2020 device, the product red model. And at this price point for about $350, I couldn't fault Apple to provide us a 64 gig model. I couldn't go, sorry, $399, sorry. I couldn't fault them because the price was low. I think the entry level to me was like, okay, you want to get into the Apple ecosystem. You want to get in on an iPhone. You want a smaller iPhone. The SE fits that bill, and it gives you that at about $400. And you wanted more storage. It was an extra $50. So that made sense to me. But enter the mini that is $50 more than what the 11 was last year, providing us roughly about the same experience as the iPhone 12. And again, $50 more, 64 gigs as the entry level, and it also has that touch sensitivity issues. So again, I'm not trying to bag on the iPhone today. This is more of a kind of sharing a concern about after using the device. But let me jump in real quick in the comments and see how everybody else is doing. Greg is in the comment. Good morning, Greg. How you doing, man? Aditya is in there. Not even 7 minutes into the show, we had our first timeout on the actual stream. But yes, thank you. Appreciate that, Mehmet. And Sabahu Davin Davis is in the comment. Good mornings. Everybody. Oh, Night Tech is in there, and of course, Greg All is in Greg is jumping in with showing a hashtag TKR Bay. Appreciate it, man. Always. So that was partially the beginning part of the conversation. I wanted to cover that with you guys, and I wanted to see what you guys thought about the iPhone 12. Obviously, I would say that my channel is primarily Android related. I'm going to say like 95, 96% Android, but in the somewhat, I would say in the off chance of every once in a while, you will see an iPhone show up on my channel. It's Android all the way, but that's 90% of what I do. So the short answer, what I'm trying to say is it's a little bit concerning that something that starts at $750 could have these type of issues. Now, I'm not going to address or trying to basically put any comparison saying that this physical phone or this phone is too small. I think there is a consumer out there that is looking for what this has to offer in the size and the reachability that it offers us. I think the iPhone 12 mini is definitely an upgrade from what we could have imagined basically the iPhone SE could have been when it came out. We wanted it to be roughly what the iPhone 12 mini is doing. We wanted a bigger display. We wanted the smaller form factor. We wanted Touch ID. We wanted to see different things. We got mostly what we wanted, but essentially at the end of the day, the iPhone SE is an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8 in a rebranded form factor for 2020 with the A13 Bionic. The iPhone 12 mini, again, is the latest and greatest iPhone 12 in a miniaturized size. That's pretty much what it is. 5G connectivity on the iPhone 12 has been great. Outside of the touch sensitivity concerns, I think the overall usability is decent. It is a little bit small for what I usually like, and I want to say that I know at the time I got the iPhone, the Pixel 5, I was a little bit concerned that I wanted actually the Pixel 5 XL or the Pixel 4 5G, which essentially the 4a 5G, which was, in my opinion, the 4a XL with 5G. But I think, it actually makes the Pixel 5 look like a big phone. And the Pixel 5 has some comparisons in there to it that I feel like are comparable, especially for what you're looking for the price point and what you get with that type of a device. Let me see real quick. We're seeing like a whole bunch of people jumping in. Okay, so Terry Siru saying, But not many people are saying that the top model is $50 cheaper comparing it to last year. It's not that what I'm essentially trying to shoot for here with this commentary is we're looking at the entry level of the line of iPhones in 2020 and in 2019. In 2019, $699 was the entry level, and that was the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 still exists. There's the iteration of it, iPhone 12 now. Now that one's more expensive even. So what we got in 2020 is not that the iPhone 12, which was the successor to the 11, was $50 more. It's that the new device that comes for $50 more is, again, the iPhone mini, the iPhone 12 mini. It's a smaller form factor. Um, but that's one of the things that you have to kind of consider. It's the hurdle that you have to get over before getting into using the device. I'm not trying to look at it in the sense of should you make this decision solely based on the price? If you're an iPhone user, you've been on an iPhone for quite some time, this is an ecosystem that you feel comfortable in, this is going to be a no-brainer. Upgrading to the new iPhone is something that you probably already plan, and you have a kind of a set upgrade schedule that you feel like is comfortable for you, and you're probably going to go with it. This is not going to be the decision that's going to sway one person from going to an iPhone ecosystem or an Android. Generally, you have basically your own experience, your own user experience with devices that you've used in the past, or even your friends, and that's pretty much what helps you kind of make the decision where you want to go. So I agree with you where the price point may not be an issue, and I'm not trying to stick to that. It's more about trying to pick up a device in 2020. Should you pick up an iPhone 11 from last year, a used model or something that can be used in 2020 and still get the benefits and actually save some money and stay within the Apple ecosystem? I think the iPhone 11, so the 11 Pro Max from last year is a big phone. There's no question it's a big phone. But you buy it because it's a big phone. You don't buy it because it's an iPhone that just happens to have a big screen. You buy it because of everything else that comes with it. The bigger battery, obviously the best that Apple has to offer in 2019, which is what this is. Now, it is running the iOS, I think the iOS 14.2 at this point, and you're getting all the benefits. But the short answer, at least in my experience, I wasn't expecting issues with the display on something that is a little bit more than what it was last year. It is a new device. I give you that. I like what they're doing with the almost all display, that there is very little bezels on this. The notch is still there, but that's kind of now their calling card, the notch. It's just a little bit of a concern for me that this is something that we're anticipating as an upgrade, as a move forward, but we're having an issue. So for me, I'm definitely going to be taking it in to try to see if I can actually get it replaced. The main thing that I was really comfortable, at least I'm happy about the fact that I was able to catch it on camera. That I think was mostly what I was pretty worried about. Because, if you've ever had a problem with a car, you always take it to the mechanic, you show up, you park your car, you get out, you're like, hey, my car is making this weird noise, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you turn on the car and the car runs fine. It knows you took it to the mechanic, and it's like, I am not showing you the mistake today. I finally got it. It was there. But I'm with you, Terry. I know a lot of people are getting into it, but if you are considering an upgrade, if you are a parent and you're thinking of upgrading your child's phone, you're upgrading your spouse's phone, whatever, whomever is deciding the money decision, that could be a conversation there. If they just bought the phone last year, would it make sense for them to upgrade to the iPhone 12? Which I feel like it's not really. It's more of the iPhone X and XS. Those are the devices or the iPhone owners that are more than likely jumping in onto this, mostly because of the differences that we get, with the exception of 5G, which still kind of is debatable of how much benefit are you getting from 5G in 2020. That's going to be the biggest thing there. Yeah. Davin Davis is saying, TK, I like it. I like the in-hand feel of the Mini and the 12. Disappointed to feel on how the Pro models are. So the standard Pro model feels the exact same 12 as the 12. It's the Pro Max that becomes a little bit. They really went from what, at least I haven't had personally a chance to play with them. I probably will when I go down to the Apple store, because I do need to get this taken care of. This is not something that I should be, as a consumer, as somebody that buys a device, you should not have to worry about the touch sensitivity issue whenever you need it. This could potentially be a defect in the panel. This could be a potential something in the hardware, or that could not be repaired via software. And at this point, at least, I haven't seen Apple acknowledging the issue, as in basically they're trying to work it. So for me, I probably will replace it and then go from there. But yes, it's a little bit concerning for me, at least the way the Pro and the Pro Max are different now. They're no longer the same phone on a bigger size, which is what the 12 and the 12 Mini is. 12 Mini is pretty much just a 12 in a smaller size. Joe's jumping back in is I think the good Apple made the iPhone 12 mini. So I think it's good that Apple made the 12 mini. Should see more Android devices fall, especially with the Pixel 4a. So I think it's an absolute. You're right. You're totally right. I think the trend that we're seeing now with Apple jumping into this, which as much as I feel like it's not. It's like, I don't know why we have that trend, but essentially it is. It's almost like everybody in the world can do something, but once Apple does it, they discovered it, and that's when people start to follow. Apple jumping into the smaller form factor, I think we're going to basically start seeing a trend of providing multiple sizes, a smaller form factor device like the Pixel 4a, the Pixel 5. Although smaller forms still are basically very powerful devices that we can definitely enjoy. So those are the things that I'm really happy to see, that at least the Pixel 5 definitely, I mean, we also have to look at it as the Pixel 5 was actually designed and put together. The entire message behind the Pixel 5 was affordability and bang for the buck. That's the benefit. And of course, listening to consumer requests. So we had the telephoto being replaced, and we also have obviously, the smaller form factor. We have the 765, not the 865. And that was also to kind of be able to help us cut the cost a little bit with it. So the short answer, or at least what we're looking at, is, the experience is starting to give us large displays with a max model and a mini display, which comes in basically what we see here. So the SE as well as the mini for iPhone or for Apple in 2020 is definitely starting a new drive. But again, I hope that we can figure out a better way to, minimize issues and concerns for these type of technologies. Let's see what we have here. IR 1980, Sabaho, man. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Oop, I noticed like a few comments jump in and it takes everybody else. The mini's battery is not enough. And that's one of the other concerns. It's the fact that you're getting a smaller device, you're getting a smaller battery. So just to kind of jump in, right now, 5G is the first iteration. This is the first time Apple puts in a new 5G modem in there. So what we're seeing here essentially is is something in the system that's drawing more power and also looking for signals. So those are the things that they dealt with when we first went with 4G LTE. Battery was always a big thing, but I think iPhone users are typically more comfortable charging their devices periodically during the day. Very few devices can do all day. I can say this much: the 11 Pro Max, all day battery, easy. One of the reasons why I always go for the Max model of most devices, it's the larger battery. When Samsung put out the S20 Ultra, the S20 Ultra has a 5,000 milliampere battery, one of their largest batteries to date. The Note 20 Ultra didn't go that high, but again, 4,500 milliampere still actually is pretty decent. The Fold, the biggest device that they've actually put out as far as a phone that folds in and opens, also 4,500 milliampere. So the battery that we see here is definitely much smaller. The optimizations that they've done on the A14 to be able to kind of give you that balance of power and of course efficiency, it will help you. But I can tell you that on a good day with taking pictures, checking social media, and doing everything on the iPhone 11 mini, I tend to have to put it back in either on the charger or even in the car, because I tend to use CarPlay or Android Auto whenever I'm driving. So it's not an atypical of basically saying my phone is off the charger all the time, because when I'm in the car, I am putting it in. And when you do plug it in to use it for CarPlay, it does tend to charge a little bit. So it gives you a little bit of that, kind of like a boost, a little bit of energy there. Davin is jumping back, or Joe, I think they're talking with there. And let me see. Okay, Davin, Joe Hickey is jumping back in. So yeah, no, Mehmet is jumping back in. He's like, I use the M51, which has a 7,000 milliampere battery, and I would be really interested to see, Mehmet, how long is your battery life, or how many are you able to go to a day, a couple of days on a battery like that? Because typically we're getting 35 to 4,000. When you're jumping at the 7,000, that to me, in my mind, I expect at least a 2-day battery, meaning you take it off on Monday morning, and you shouldn't have to charge it till maybe Tuesday night. But let me know in the comments, what do you think as far as the battery there? Joe's jumping back in. Let me just scroll a little bit before it goes too far. The Pixel 5 is actually is pretty good. My USB to 3.5 millimeter headphone jack doesn't work with it though, which is a little bit of a concern. And that's, again, there's things that are changing in the Pixel line. I mean, we're seeing a shift in the way Google approaches the Pixel. There's a good chance that we may not see let's say an 865, or maybe what the 875 is going to be next year. Once Qualcomm announces all the new chipsets and so on. But at the end of the day, I don't see it as a problem. I think what we've seen is that the mid-range chipsets are going to be very good, very powerful. And I think, Google's doing really nice. I just hope that they get into that moment where they're able to control their SoC. If they can figure out, or if they can get into the point where they can get this situation and they are controlling hardware from the processor all the way down to the actual unit, they will get so much more better efficiency as far as power consumption, but also pricing, because they don't have to actually license and get hardware from another party. So those are the things you want to keep in mind. I mean, Apple with their M1 chipset now that everybody's talking about, I feel like everybody's praising the M1 chip because the M1 chip works so well with Apple's own software or optimized systems for them. And there's no surprise there. I mean, obviously, Final Cut is going to work great on the M1 chip because that's what Final Cut is designed to work. It's designed to work on Apple hardware. And of course, they're running the latest version. To me, logical, obviously, performance improvements and boosts are always going to benefit when you're able to control every aspect of that device. And I think Apple was, for the most part, had that locked down when it came to iPhones with obviously their processors there, with the iPads, same thing. It was basically their PC line that was basically using either Intel or AMD. And those are the things that I'm really interested to see how they work. And right now what we're seeing is a lot of people are using their M1 chipset with the integrated graphics. So those are the things that are using Apple Silicon, but they're also not using third-party GPUs like an NVIDIA or an AMD GPU that could provide a little bit of a boost. But we're still seeing a lot of that, obviously a lot of horsepower and a lot of performance improvements there. So we'll have to see how those things go once we start seeing devices that carry those additional hardwares. But I'm not sure why you're, I think, at least in that situation, for Joe's comment real quick, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, are you using the original adapter that was like one of the original Pixel adapters that were around? Or are you using one of the extra ones that you had from different devices? Because I'm almost tempted to say that this will probably only work with ones that are originally like meant for the Pixels. So let me see here if I have mine. So as we're talking about this, because now you got me interested, I am going to go ahead. Let me go ahead and just try this out. I'm going to try, this is the Samsung USB-C to 3.5mm jack. And okay. And I got my headphones, and I'll give it a second just to boot up. I think the battery on that one overnight kind of took a little bit of a tumble there, and we'll give it a second there. So that was with Joe, and I'll let you know, Joe, how that works real quick here. Oh man, yeah. So Exposed Tuesdays. It's not news exposed. It's it's Android exposed Tuesday. Yeah, the battery on the Pixel 5 needs a little bit of juice. Okay, so we'll give this. Actually, hold on. Okay, we're going to give it a few seconds. I have it on the fast charger. Should be pretty good. I really love those as well. We need to bring those back at some point when we're able to get a little bit more on rooting and getting devices that are easier to root, which also, and then of course, custom ROMs first. Greg is jumping back in, of course. Well, rooting, so Exposed Tuesdays is used to basically, was my way of showcasing exposed modules every Tuesday, new modules, whichever I find that are interesting, new, bring in new features, new capabilities, and they tend to come out with, and those didn't necessarily need to run on a custom ROM. So those you could run on stock rooted ROMs with a custom recovery. So you needed to have a custom recovery on your device, and you also needed to have it rooted. So that you can install basically the exposed repository, exposed modules, and of course get everything set up. Or in this situation now, you can pretty much just get it running with Magix. So Magix has that built into it now, so you're able to actually get it integrated. But yes, I really do miss those days as well. And Greg's jumping back, of course, with custom ROMs. He's playing around with installing Ubuntu Touch on his, I think, if I'm not mistaken, his OnePlus 3, which is also very nice because that's one of the new other devices that ROMs that you can run if you're able to get it to run on the device that you're looking for. The capacitive fingerprint sensor is good for business phones. What do you think, Davin? So let me see if Davin jumped in on that one. I think it's good for everybody, especially in the current situation. If anything, that kind of gave us a big wake-up call to at least having devices that do not have, or at least has one form of biometric. What I mean is like a fingerprint sensor and face unlock, or just having face unlock and no fingerprint sensing. I think iPhone users have had that concern, obviously, at the beginning of the year when we started all having to wear masks. We're still having to wear them in the stores and so on. And having, when you're in the store and you're trying to use your Apple Pay or your Apple, Android Pay, whichever, and you don't have a physical fingerprint sensor, the Pixel 4 XL definitely would have had that concern. Although what I would probably say now is obviously the Pixel 5 fixed that problem. We now have a fingerprint sensor, which really is much better. And I feel like for business, this is something that could be tremendously needed. Especially in these days where you just need to basically tap on the back, unlock your device. And I think that's one of the reasons why I liked the iPhone SE 2020. It's the fact that it still had Touch ID. This is literally the only phone in 2020 that Apple released with Touch ID, because everything else, phone, I said, if you just want to keep that in mind. I'm not talking about a tablet. But yeah, for sure, it's one of those things you always want to keep in mind in there. Greg's talking about a device that you probably don't need to upgrade for at least a few years. Definitely, if you're able to upgrade your ROM, get it running the latest version of Android, or if anything else, even adding new features to it that weren't originally even put in there. I have the Oppo Find X2 and the Samsung M51 and the NFC. So the Poco X3 NFC and the Find X2, I have the Pro, not the standard model. I like that one. The Poco X3 NFC is actually a very nice device. Good morning, Gary. Gary the fireman's in the comments. Good morning, sir. Welcome back. Hope you're doing well. And then let me double check here. Davin, jumping back with Davin. It's a lot of work, Greg. That's all I have to say. It's to be able to bring it back in. And I feel like there's still a big demand for it as far as Expose module and, of course, getting rooted devices. But it's starting to trend on the way down, which is a little bit of it's like I would almost say at one point in time, every phone I got, I purchased based on the rootability of this device. That I literally, I would say, can I root this? Can I get this thing running a custom ROM? Is there development going on around this device? And that would help me make my decision into buying this phone. But as time was going on and I started covering different devices that are not necessarily all in that aspect, the channel kind of changed my approach a little bit to basically my purchasing decision. And because I tend to buy and sell a lot of my devices, or some of them are not even mine, it's hard for me to be able to basically do the same that we used to do in the past is, root and mod a device. And then if I have to send it back to a PR company, it's not realistic because that device will end up going to another person to review. So the short answer is the system is a little bit different for me right now. I still root OnePlus devices because I feel like those are the easiest OnePlus, like you just jump into it. I also love to run their betas and of course run custom ROMs there. So those are the ones I still definitely enjoy playing around with. Eljosa Sibukli, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Good morning. Welcome back to the chat. Let me see here. Aditya. So I'm thinking about picking up the Pixel 5 if it gets down to $599. Thoughts about Black Friday sales? I think if you're so let's just say this: if you're considering the Pixel 5, if you're able to get it at $599 or a lower price, you're able to trade in something for it. Definitely do it. It's a really well-rounded device from what you're getting as far as what Google has to offer you there. I feel like even though it's not as powerful as the Pixel 4 XL is in 2019, you're still getting very good daily driver, good battery life, very good camera system. We have now the standard and the wide on the back, and of course with the front-facing camera, some of the best experiences when it comes down to camera performance. Of course, if you're talking about just video, and not necessarily video, but mostly photography. And of course, just general day-to-day usage. I think that's definitely going to be the best option. And I think the Pixel 5 is a great device to pick up. If you're looking for a little bit less of a price, you can go with the Pixel 4a, the 5G. That's a bigger display, slightly bigger battery, not 90 hertz for the display, but it still is a pretty decent experience. And I think it's definitely something you would enjoy, Aditya, of course. Davin's jumping back. And TK, the SE 2020 for older people who live on Touch ID. 12 mini is for the people who want the latest and smaller footprint. I agree. And I think it's, so to me, is when I look at them is the iPhone SE 2020, even though for the Touch ID functionality, has a smaller display. So that's really where it gets a little bit of a conundrum, right? The Mini is smaller, but it has a bigger footprint on the display, where the SE is physically bigger, but it has a smaller display because of the chin and forehead. But the Touch ID on there is as fast as it's ever been. So for me, yes, you're right. It's kind of like that middle ground going on. And I probably would say If you're really comfortable with the SE and you like the form factor, I would definitely go with that. It's cheaper. It's something that you can still get the latest version of the iOS 14.2, and it's going to look great. If you're looking to get it on something, let's say even on like the iPhone mini, I think the mini is definitely a decent phone. It has a lot of good features. 5G on it is actually pretty fast. I almost got 200 down on T-Mobile in my area. And I think it's something to keep in mind. It's, they're improving it. They're putting new things in it. It's not like it's skimping on anything other than the battery and the display. But for me, it's again, that whole little, so Apple throws us a $400 iPhone for the iPhone SE, but then all of their other lines now are $750 and above. You know what I mean? Like we're no longer mid-range. They basically have small entry level for the inexpensive size, and then the entry level mini is 64 gigs, which pretty much begs you to jump into the next level. Which again, it's what Samsung's doing with the Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. I don't think the Note 20 is really a good offering for what the Note should offer in 2020. The compromises that they have done in that device are a little bit too much. They went with a lower quality physical body. So we're talking about a plastic body on $1,000 phone. It started at $1,000. I realize it's cheaper now. We're also talking about the fact that it has a slower touch responsiveness than the iPhone, than the Note 20 Ultra. Has a basically slightly smaller battery. Again, small. Now the flat display versus curved edges, that's a preference. I think some people prefer the flat display. But the touch responsiveness of the S Pen being different from the 12 and the 20 and the 20 Ultra are a little bit of a concern. So again, expensive phones should not have these type of issues. You really shouldn't be compromising or accepting a compromise when you're starting to think about your phones being a 750 and above. When the Notes start at 1,000 and above, and then iPhone now is 750. By the end of by 2021, the next iPhone will be at 800, and then of course keep pushing it. At some point, all iPhones will be above $1,000, and that's not really okay. That's not something we should be expecting. And for the iPhone users on the general usage, I don't think it's something that we really need to kind of consider saying like every year I need to save up even more money now to be able to get or afford the new iPhone that comes out. Sorry, I'm not trying to harp on Apple for what they're doing. Is just the trend of $1,000 plus phones started with Apple, so it's the other end of a trend. Samsung followed them. Samsung's in the same boat now. Everybody wants to go to the $1,000 phone. And of course, they're giving us new tech. They're giving us new not compromises, but new technologies. But then we see companies like LG coming in with the Snapdragon 865 with, and I'm talking obviously with the V60 here, and offers us V60 at $799 in 2020 at the same time. But then very few people talk about it. Very few people even give it a time of day saying, well, we know what, it's LG. It's LG. LG is really playing a very big game in 2020. We saw 3 different devices from them this year: the V60, the Velvet, and then, of course, the Wing. All 3 of these devices are offering us very unique experiences at a very decent and a very comparable and actually market aggressive pricing. The Wing, being the first of the Explorer program, is at $1,000. That's because that's the one with the new form factor, the swivel display. That's brand new tech. They didn't even cross $1,000. And if you really look at it right now, I was looking at some of the, sorry, let me just do real quick here. I have an email that I got in from one of our PR companies talking about some of their deals on the Wing. And the reality is that the iPhone, so the Wing is, where is it? Okay, so AT&T is selling it for $300 off if you trade in on it. T-Mobile is doing buy one, get one free on the Wing. And then Verizon's doing, I forgot what they're doing. I think they're doing so receive up to $650 off on the Wing as a promotion with the new line. So again, all of these things that LG is trying to do in 2020 are going under the radar. We look at Sony. Sony offered us 2 devices in 2020, and we obviously know that Sony is doing really good. The Xperia 1 Mark II was a big hit. A lot of people love it. I personally very much enjoy this device. I love the camera system. I love what they did with the Xperia 5 with the gaming focus on it. Now, yes, they did technically go over the $1,000 on the Xperia 1 Mark II. But I feel like that's really more of a person that is looking for the camera optics there. This is not just a device that is a glowing rectangle for the sake of plugging in Juan Carlos's subreddit. it's the r-android, and of course, if you check out, just search for glowing rectangles and check out the subreddit for Juan Carlos's Patreon side, and it's one of the definitely a much better group of people. A lot of the folks in the comments obviously are big fans of that show. That subreddit as well as myself. And those are the things that you have to appreciate. It's what you can get when the community comes around you. But again, I feel like Samsung and Apple are going year after year for that line, that $1,000 plus line. Samsung's lineup for 2020, it has quite a few devices that are plus, the 1,000 up to 15, up to 2,000. I'm not going to deny the fact that, obviously I did pick up a Fold. That's a $2,000 phone. I traded in basically one of my more expensive phones just to be able to bring the price down. So definitely, sorry, I feel like I went on a tangent here, and there's quite a few comments in here talking about different things. And I'm hoping this is not going to jump on me. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight Davin's comment just so I know exactly where I am. And let me just quickly go through here and see what we have. Sorry. Just to kind of go back to Greg's comments, it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit of a presumptuous of them to think that they need to basically keep pushing the price up in a year of of the situation that's going on right now. People are home. Some people don't have money, and their offerings are, although great that they're giving us choice between 4 different iPhones, but again, 750 is the entry door. So the fifth choice is very different and very distant from what the new iPhones are offering us. What is your phone of the year? I'm starting to put my list together. I can tell you right now, there's a few. I can't really pick into one phone yet, but I can say that the Pixel 5, I think I want to say the V60, definitely the Find X2 Pro are some of my devices that are on the top of that list. And believe it or not, the Pixel 4a is also on one of those on that list as well. Not because of the inexpensiveness, but it's also because of what it offers at that price point. So there's a few phones coming up on my list, but I am going to be working on a top 5 of 2020. This year, we saw so many phones. There's been so many releases, consecutive releases. And I almost am tempted to say, if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, the Poco M3 that's going to be coming out hopefully soon. Hopefully going to be getting a unit myself. So we'll be covering that. So there are more phones to be released. And I will say this, which is a little bit surprising for me. But we're back. Here we are with Goku again. So to kind of jump back real quick for a second there, at the beginning of the year, Sony announced 2 different devices. There's the Xperia 1 Mark II, and then there is the Xperia Pro. The Xperia Pro was supposed to be more of a creator-based type of a phone that worked very well with the A7S III and, of course, or other Sony cameras. So it's an alpha camera type of a device that also had super fast connectivity. So we saw a lot of information about that at the announcement, and then it's been quiet. November is practically done, right? Because I'm thinking, this week, beginning of next week, obviously we have a holiday here, Thanksgiving in the US. So for the most part, Black Friday sales and all of that. I don't anticipate anybody releasing a phone in the middle of that week. I'm sorry, I take that back. The 24th is the M3 from Poco. But I meant to say essentially is that, there's a month or so left of the year and we haven't heard much about it. I've tried reaching out. I've tried to find out more information. So I'm really anticipating or eager to find out what's going to happen with that phone. Let me jump back real quick to the comments before we get too far. IR1980 is saying an integrated modem on the SoC will always be more efficient, hence the 765G being the sweet spot for this year. And the 865 and the iPhone 12 series will always sip will always sip more power due to separate 5G modems. The concern that you're always, so for supporting your comment right there, IR, it is absolutely there. You're on point with the sense of what you're getting there as far as power efficiency and of course the architecture of the SoC. I think what 765 series did for us this year is it elevated the mid-range processor and it elevated the experience of what a mid-range device can give you to what we used to expect the flagship at, I would say, a few years back when $700 was an expensive phone. Galaxies used to be $700. I want to say the Galaxy S9 or the S8 started at $700 on T-Mobile for us in the US, and I was like, wow, that is expensive. We were starting to go up in price, but every year, as usual, price go up a little by little, little by little, little by little, and at the end of the day, again, we're paying for these companies' advertising campaigns. That's pretty much what it comes down to. The bigger the campaign budget, the bigger their development, because we're not seeing groundbreaking, earth-shattering, year-over-year improvements. We're seeing minor spec bumps, generally done by the third-party processing. So I feel like the majority of the horsepower benefit that we got with 2020 devices was done because of Qualcomm. Qualcomm did 90% of the heavy lifting. The 765 and the 865 carried a majority of our processors. The A14 comes along, and I feel like on a daily activity, running your operating system, the iOS 14.2 will feel exactly the same on the A13 as it does on the A14, with the exception of very minor, specifically hardware-driven things that you can only do on the A14. You're not going to miss that difference between the two. That's truly the big thing here, is that we're looking at incremental upgrade, but incremental price increases every year. It's understandable that the technology will get better every year, but it's maybe a harder case to make once you basically add that 5G price tag increase. The moment you throw the word 5G on a device, suddenly it's an extra $50 because of the word 5G. So we'll have to see how things go there. But I definitely am really, really appreciating what the 7 Series is offering us this year. And I hope with the 775, or I'm not sure, whichever number they end up going with, I'm hoping the 775 because 875. It will also carry on with that. And then, of course, we'll see some improvements as far as the 5G connectivity, maybe better power management on both the 8 series and the 7 series. Let's see here real quick. Greg's jumping in to say, okay, I'm still using the Xiaomi Mi 8 on a custom ROM. Hey, man, if you're able to hang with it and upgrade it whenever you want, that's the best way to do it. Gary's jumping in. Oh, yeah, he's saying hello to everybody. Terry Sidu saying is, by the way, will you review the shortcut apps on iPhone? Seems not many reviewers did this. That is pretty useful if you use the Apple ecosystem. I'll definitely include that. Yeah, no, for sure. It's something that I'm trying to round up my experience with the iPhone 12 mini. The only thing I'm trying to finish off first is I need to go down to the Apple store and I need to trade this in. They told me that they were going to have units in the store actually on Monday. So I'm waiting to Monday to go in, because if they don't have units for me to replace, I don't want to just go in and return it. I want to be able to get a unit. I don't want to have to, if people are pre-ordering or so on, I want to get a replacement unit. And also one of the other big things that I like about it is it's so new that there is no refurb. There's no chances I'm getting something that has been reconditioned. This is going to be a brand new unit again. So I'll definitely have to keep that in mind. But thank you, Terry, for that recommendation there. Hold on, let me see. Oh yeah, Greg's jumping back. Okay, mine lasts all day, and it's running a custom ROM. So one of the things that Greg obviously is trying to allude to or talk about here is custom ROMs tend to have custom kernels in them. They're also help with power management and power efficiency into the actual system. But you're also running custom ROMs will also help you remove some of those background processes that are inherently built into, I call those as carrier locked version of devices when you're picking them up from a company. And this is something that we used to do all the time. It's something that is intended to help the carrier more so than the user. You are buying the phone. You are putting your hard-earned money. You're pretty much paying retail for what it is, maybe over installments and so on. But at the end of the day, that device, because it's locked, because it's a device that is intended to run either on a specific carrier, be it Verizon, whichever, has specific software made by that company that runs in the background, and that sometimes can also kill the battery. So custom ROMs, definitely one of the big reasons why people appreciate and love those as well. IR is jumping back here is here in the UK already we are seeing very good 24 months contract deal for the Pixel 4a, 4a, 5G, and the 5 cropping up. I think those are great, especially because when you're looking at the price point that they're coming up, they're very priced. I really want to really emphasize the fact that I really feel that the Pixel 5 is priced right. It's priced right for what it offers you. It's not a mid-tier. I'm not trying to configure it into, well, this is a mid-ranger. I truly believe it gives you a flagship experience at the price point of what you're getting for a 765 series because of the optimizations done on the software end. That's really where we benefit from. Again, that's one where I feel like if Google decides to get into trying to make in their own SoC, where we will see, Android excel even more. The ability of controlling it will just get you even more, especially when you're able to tune it to the hardware that you're trying to put together. And I'm happy that you guys are able to get the contracts. In the US, we are seeing, I think T-Mobile has the Pixel 5, and typically we've seen Pixels start showing up. And you're able to basically upgrade from older devices. So there's no question that you'll be able to get a good deal. And again, $350 for the Pixel 4a, in my opinion, one of the best bang for the buck phones of 2020, for sure. For those that are interested, you can buy a OnePlus 8 Pro for $799 and get a free pair of OnePlus Buds. Yes, this is one of their other, there are other deals that they're doing right now. Again, I'm not trying to say that, Apple and Samsung are the only options, but, we have to pay attention. OnePlus is also did a interesting, shift, or at least I would say an approach to what they're offering in 2020 as far as devices. We saw them in 2019 release four devices that are in generally basically, two versions of devices that have a slight bump upgrade, a spec upgrade. And then in 2020, they decided to go with the 8, the 8 Pro, and the 8T. Three different devices that cover three different aspects of what you want to get out of your phone. You get the A, the entry level, the 8, not the A. The 8T, which essentially gives you that gaming capability, 120 hertz. And of course, you're getting the 65-watt charger. You get the flat display. You still get a big display there. And of course, similar camera optics to what you got with the 8. But then you go into the Pro, and then you go into crazy town. You get, obviously the 30 watt, you're not getting the 65, but there's a good chance that was just more of a timing release. But you get wireless charging, reverse wireless charging. Honestly, some of their best cameras to date on a OnePlus is on the 8 Pro. So yes, $799, I agree. It's a great deal if you're able to pick up one of those. And I honestly feel like the design on the 8 Pro is also really, really nice. It has the curved edges, all the sexy things that people love to look at on expensive phones. And it actually has pretty fast internal storage and RAM, which is really, really nice. Clove Technology in the UK has the Xperia 5 Mark II for £599, 200 off with dual SIM. We have actually the dual SIM model also selling in the US on B&H Photo. They imported that as well. I think the dual SIM should be the standard for all devices. I'm realizing that when LG is able to give you a phone that's, even step back, if OnePlus is able to release or bring the Nord, okay, so they brought the Nord N10 to the European market, and they brought that with an SD card. That's a OnePlus phone with an SD card in 2020. Mind you, it's not a flagship and it's not trying to be. This is a Nord, obviously mid-range territory. But I'm really happy to see that OnePlus even is trying to re-embrace the SD card scenario. So expandable storage will always be nice. And of course, the Pixel 5, the Xperia 5 Mark II is a great device. I really like that one. The model that I saw, by the way, also did have the dual SIM, but it was a dual SIM or single SIM and an SD card. So you had that. I'm not sure if the one that you have, IR, is two SIMs with an SD, or is the two SIMs, one SD, one SIM, if you're trying to use it with an SD card. The USB-C audio is as much of a disaster as the standard still is as in 2020. And I think it's because of the way it's because what happens is a lot of companies are shifting, right? They're moving along. And let me just do this real quick. I think that should give me enough juice. Yep, 40%, which is what I was expecting. So I'm going to go ahead and boot up the Pixel 4, the Pixel 5 real quick for Joe. I wanted to make sure just to double check the dongle that I have here from Samsung. But yeah, no, it's almost a disaster because it doesn't get implemented correctly. It doesn't get implemented in the same way with different carriers. They're not including them in the boxes anymore. So now it's almost like you gotta buy a pair of wireless headphones at the same time, or just use the speakers that you have on the phone. So that to me is a little bit of a, we're starting to see things missing out of the box. Soon we'll just get a phone. I mean, it's one of those things that, okay, I understand you're using the conversation of you're trying to save the world situation, But it's more, you need to kind of understand that, not everybody has the same means, and not everybody's going to be able to buy, I would say, what is it called? A pair of headphones at the same time. So, Joe, real quick, I'm going to jump onto this just to double check. Yeah. So, Joe, if you have a chance to be able to pick up one of those, just pick up one of the Samsung ones. The Samsung adapter works perfectly on my Pixel 5. And I was pretty tempted to say that I think that's one of the more universal ones, closer to what we used to have with the first generation Pixel adapter that used to be included in the box. I don't know if you remember that one. That one was actually pretty universal. So it does actually work on here if you're looking for something to be able to use with yours. Let's jump back in here. We have Greg. Oops. I think I jumped back really far. Okay, the OG LG. Oh wow. Okay, Aditya Neil is in the comments. Hey man, good morning. Sorry, I didn't get to that. I didn't get there. Let me see here. Oh man, I missed a lot of comments. Okay, I'm gonna try to see if I can get to most of them. So IR 1980, I saw your comment regarding the LG. If I'm not mistaken, Matt was saying that the Wing will be coming to the UK. So I realized the V60 and the Velvet didn't make it, but I'm hoping that the at least the Wing will definitely bring in a lot of hope in that market as well. The V60's brand new with dual screen for the same price as the Pixel 5 S20 FE. If you need a full performance, it ain't even close. The V60 crushes both. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There's a few things I would probably say on the camera side that maybe in photography, maybe that Pixel can provide us. But at the end of the day, when you really look at it from an all-around type of device, pen input, dual screen option, large battery, large display, stereo speakers, I really think the V60 is one of those devices that are at the top of that list. That's why I'm really putting that list together and trying to get that list to go. Mehmet mentioned here that he did use the Samsung S20 FE, but it has some problems. I had that one as well, and I would say that it didn't have any problems for me in the sense of what I was anticipating. I got what I was expecting. It's for the most part a tailored experience of what the S20 is offering. I found it a little bit confusing to be releasing it at the end of the year around the Note 20, because we already had 3 S20 phones to start with. We have the S20, the S20 Plus, and then the S20 Ultra, and now we have the S20 FE. So, short answer, it's just it's a less expensive S20 with, I would probably say, a reasonable price. That's really what it is, a good bang for the buck. But not everybody's looking for that type of S20. Really, when you look at the S20, you're looking at a much higher experience there. Oh, Joe jumping into good day, Joe. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Aditya, man. Good morning, man. James W saying, I wish the Carrier's V60s were rootable. Not only that, I wish they were easily unlockable. But yes, no, this is one of those. I think to kind of go back to the whole Expose Tuesday comment, kind of going in, we're starting to see a lot more locking down of the bootloader. The bootloader is becoming more of a harder thing to unlock. OnePlus luckily has not even got into that point, but it's something to keep in mind when you're looking at a smartphone. If you're used to rooting and modifying devices, if you can't unlock the bootloader, it's a non-starter. I mean, with the exception of using stock ROMs, meaning trying to shift from one region to another's version of the ROM for that same device, you can't really do much with a device that has a locked bootloader otherwise. So yes, definitely, it's harder. It's not as easy. And by the time I feel like a method is discovered to be able to get to that point where you're able to root it or modify it, the device may not be as popular, and people have probably already moved on. So it's kind of depends on how much you really like the phone. That's pretty that way. Greg's jumping in. Yes, LG did lock in their bootloaders pretty well, actually. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Joe, okay, so Juan, if you're in the comments, man, we know where you are. We know where you are, man. Donald Lazima is saying, hey, TK, finally got rid of the V40 Sprint. Now Verizon LG V60. Thank you for the advice. Absolutely, man. Seriously, the V60 is truly that silent device that people don't realize. A, you can still pick it up, and B, it still is a very relevant device for what it offers. The upgrades that we saw in the V60, I kid you guys not, in the PR meeting where I sat down and I was with few of the other creators and media people, and they were announcing all of the different the different features. It's like one after another. I was like, wow, 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 wow. Those are the things that I really appreciated about what LG did this year is they listened to what people wanted. The one thing that I would probably say if you really wanted it is I wanted them to release an unlocked model of this phone. Not because I don't think that having a relationship with the carriers would help them, but I also feel like it's for the people that are, like us that like to buy unlocked devices that want to be able to buy an LG and maybe use it on AT&T and T and switch over to T-Mobile, but keep your phone, not have to rebuy the same phone again. That's about my only thing. But I feel like I understand what's going on. It's that carrier relationship that LG needs to stay in the market, and they need to make some concessions into how the carriers want the devices to be done. Because there's more than likely, if it's not a locked model that LG is selling, that model could be rootable much easier. And I think that's probably what's going. Maybe that's one of the reasons why. But we'll have to see what LG does in 2021. Realistically, I mean, there's at least when I was talking to Juan Carlos, it seems like the G series and the V series are almost out, and we're going to start seeing what the new evolution is on the LG side. Samsung's doing the same thing. They're revamping their lineup. They almost want to say, like, look, we're going to put everything behind us and we're going to move forward with a new type of devices. And the one that I'm really interested to see is what can the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 2 FE does, because that to me is the one that people are going to jump on. Jumping back here, the new iPhone SE, Devin Mendez. Yeah, no, I mean, it is new. It's new. It's just running the A13 Bionic, not the A14. And of course, but it is running the latest version of the software. And it definitely does answer what people are looking for. It's a smaller form factor iPhone in 2020 that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, or at least not go in it for the arm and a leg conversation there. IR is jumping back with the Pixel 4a will be for everyone on everybody's top list. Google hit it out of the park with that phone. I can't say enough about how that was just a surprise, because the reason why I use this analogy when I use last year's price model and then compare it to the current year, if you use it and you see what they offered, they went with a bigger display, better bezels as far as, smaller bezels, a bigger display, roughly the same form factor. Just actually selling starting point at $50 less than the 3A did last year. Now, they didn't offer us a 4A at the time, but again, for $350, that was sold like everywhere. You could not get the Pixel 4A, and you probably still are going to have a hard time getting the right one. And they also just released a new version of that recently too. So if you're looking, they actually have multiple colors as well. Never knew that the GA had an air gesture. So I think Aditya is the one who picked up the brand new. So he picked up a G8, and I think Aditya kind of said the same thing last time. It's essentially it has that force gestures. The G8 and the Pixel 4 XL were the two devices during that year that offered that experience, the gesture functionality. And this one actually had a little display where you're able to see your hand gesture on the display. So it's unique. It's definitely very nice, but it still benefited from all of the LG technologies that we always love. And I really hope that LG does not give up on the headphone jack, at least on their entire lineup. I realize that the Flip doesn't have that. Sorry, starting to mix up the Wing does not have, the LG Wing does not have a headphone jack. And it also has a single mono speaker. So I'm hoping, again, we'll see some improvements in the next generations on the Explorer program. James W said, I have the Pixel 4a 5G. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. James, I would love to know what are some of the concerns that you're looking for, because I was actually looking into picking up one myself just to check out, because I feel like that's about the only one that I don't have a reference as. It's the biggest Pixel that they've released, and I don't know why. I actually don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. That's a better way of saying it. Aditya OG. I love that one. Davin's jumping back with that one. Oops. Joe Bukov. Let's see. The 765G is the best processor in terms of power and efficiency. I agree. I agree. And for what it's offering us on a, I'm not going to say average. I'm saying for daily usage, for daily content consumption, media, social media posting, pictures, general, editing, producing pictures, editing them, minor, type of experience. I feel like it does really nice. What I feel like the limitation that we would get with the 765 right now is that not a lot of people are using it for the full potential. I think some people are using it mostly just to hit that price point because it's less expensive, but it is ultimately providing us a better solution for the fact that $1,000 plus phones are not always going to be the right answer for everybody. They may sound and look flashy, but I don't feel like everybody buys those phones. It's almost like saying that an airplane that has basically first class and business class makes most of their money there. In reality, they do charge more, and there'll be less people that go into those cabins. And most of the charges, or most of the people that are going to be getting on those airplanes, are going to be in the economy seats, which are going to be more the reasonably priced side, because that's really where everybody's making their decisions. We look at expensive phones, we give them the time of day, but at the end of the day, when you go into the store, your pocket is going to have a big, big part in that decision of what device you pick up for yourself, for your family, for your child, and what you're looking to keep for how long. That's definitely going to be something to keep that in mind. Let me see here. Oh, here. So, um, sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to try to mess up your name because I'm having a hard time saying that one. Is the iPhone 12 256 gigs a worth buy over the iPhone 11? So which version of the iPhone 11 I would probably say is the better question, because you said the iPhone 12 256 is obviously a storage, but if you're looking at the 11 256 against the iPhone 12 256, I would probably say the iPhone 11 is probably a better deal for you if you're getting the same storage capacity. I don't think realistically jumping into the 12 is going to give you that much more, other than 5G. Again, depending if you have 5G in your area, I don't really see that there's going to be much of a difference there. I really believe that if you were considering more of it, you're coming in from an iPhone 10 or an iPhone X or an XS, those are the ones that are going to be an easier sell. James W jumping in. So I'm looking forward to the 775G for the LPDDR5 support and UFS 3.0 and above support, better camera capabilities, and hopefully better integrated 5G modem. And of course, mmWave tax is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And the reality right now, at least with the millimeter wave technology, Verizon's about the only one that has it. And at least Verizon's also shifted their approach, and now they're offering the sub-6 type of 5G across the state, across the country, because for the longest time their claim to 5G was in specific spots and only in specific spots, but then they were running with the whole fastest 5G conversation. At the end of the day, yes, certain locations, very specific locations, will have 5G connectivity, and those are the ones that you're obviously going to be enjoying it there. But on average, I think we would benefit more from faster sub-6 type of technology, similar to what we had with Sprint. Sprint was going around roughly about 400 to 500 megabits down, as opposed to what we're seeing now, roughly about 80 to 150, 160 on the technology we're seeing with AT&T and T-Mobile. Again, not necessarily that they're not 5G connectivity. It's just when you compare to the fact that you're able to get up to 220 with 4G LTE on T-Mobile in certain spots, that's not really speaking too much on the speed. So it's almost like we have the label, we have the indicator at the top on the phone, but we're not getting the phone that really does so much more with what it's doing than what it did before. What is more important for your battery, camera, screen? Sorry, what is more important for you? Battery, camera, screen, SoC, being mini or on the max? So the reality of the matter is, we use our devices, or at least I use my devices for consumption the most. But I also use my device to control things, meaning social media, managing my channel, managing my content. So a large display and a big battery will always be a very important for me, big factor for me. If I'm not looking to produce things out of it, the SoC, I think mid-range would be more than capable to what I'm looking for. I don't necessarily need the 865 to have it running. Again, you don't need a Lamborghini just to say you have a car that can go pretty fast. You can have, like a Honda or anything like that can do pretty decent speeds, and it still gives you the experience that you want with a very, really nice car and shiny, all the new efficiencies that you get with a nice car, with a brand new, car. But you don't necessarily have to pay the through the roof price. So yes, I would probably say battery and screen size are going to be my main. The cameras need to be decent, but that also kind of goes into the SoC because that also helps how the camera performance goes in. So it's more of a software situation. But I would probably go battery and camera first. Battery and display. I want my phone to last the longest possible because I need to be able to use it for a long duration of time there. Okay, I see Aditya is answering a few people. Oh wow, hold on. Sorry, Matt Tyler's in the chat. Thank you very much for the super chat right there. He's sorry, guys, been busy with work today, but I wanted to drop in and show support, a love. Hashtag TKRBay. And congratulations, Matt, for getting your. I saw the comment this morning. Sorry, I missed it yesterday. So happy that you were able to get your PS5 set up and running, and Warzone is running there. So we'll definitely set up some time and play some, Call of Duty Warzone in the near future. I'll be playing you on the PC, so we'll see how the PS5 does. Hopefully. You're already good with the PS4, so I'm pretty sure the PS5 can definitely knock it out of the park for you there. Donald Sabaha, man. Sabaha, ahlan wa sahlan. Joel, Joel will be saying is, I have not seen many of big YouTubers coming out and telling the truth about the iPhone 12 Pro Max camera, how underwhelming it is. I made a decision when the iPhone 12 came out that I wasn't going to pick up the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro. The 12 and 12 Pro to me are identical in the same form factor, but for the most part, you're getting just the additional camera sensors there. You're starting to get some improvements over the two. The price difference was reasonable between the two, but I didn't feel that they were an upgrade enough for me from what I currently have, which is the 11 Pro Max. Then when the Pro Max came out and the Mini came out, I wanted to kind of look at both of them, and I'm making the decision which one should I pick up. At $750, I felt like the Mini was expensive enough that I would feel like it's more unique of a conversation to kind of have. So as far as the overall experience, what's going on, no device is perfect, but I feel like very few people are covering the fact when Apple devices have issues, then when, let's say, a Samsung device has an issue or even a Pixel device has an issue. It's like almost like we all jump into it and we're able to kind of give Apple the pass on this. I shouldn't expect a phone that starts at $750 to have display issues. It's just flat out, and I'm not the only one. So again, the question of what can we do, what is the solution to this? For me right now, I'm going to have to go back into the store, trying to get a unit, hopefully in the same color, and solve my problem there with Apple. If I can't fix it, then I'm going to have to return the device and wait for when devices become more available, as this is still that whole launch time. I mean, everybody still wants to get them. There's the holidays. The different things are playing a factor here. So the short answer, what we're going through is we just want to make sure to get the best solution at the best time possible, right? So I appreciate your comment there, of course. Davin's jumping back in. Do you feel OnePlus is stretching itself too thin with these releases in 2020? I think what OnePlus is doing this year is almost as different as what they did last year, right? Last year was the first time when they decided to start releasing devices in specific markets, right? So we had the 7 releasing in Europe, not releasing in the US. So we had Europe receiving the 7. Welcome back. On the clock. I think their approach, to kind of summarize it, sorry, because I kind of kept going before the screen side did this thing. What they're doing essentially is figuring out that right medium, right? Last year, they released 4 different phones, the 7, the 7T, sorry, the 7, the 7 Pro, the 7T, and the 7T Pro. Those are 4 different devices that were released in 2019 that are not necessarily the same. In 2020, I feel like, although I feel like the release cycle was a little bit off, I still really find that their solution is really nice. They gave us 3 different devices that are running the same processor, so there's not one benefit over the other. The 8, the 8T, and the 8 Pro all run the same device, same SoC, the 865. Different combinations, different feature set, and I think the 8 Pro, in my opinion, is the best of all 3. Basically for feature set, and again, for now being $799 as far as the price point. It's when you start looking at the fact that Nord came back in 2020, and Nord by the end of the year has 3 devices. So the OnePlus Nord line has 3 phones. The OnePlus phones, the standard phones, are also running 3. So we have 6 OnePlus phones in 1 year, going from 4 the year before. And last year's phones were primarily just a spec bump from one version to the other. I think this is the better solution. I don't know if 6 was the right number to jump in on everybody, but they kind of covered the gamut from $150 all the way to $1,000 when it comes down to pricing for OnePlus phones. So you have a selection from the N100 to the N10 to the Nord to the 8 to the 8T to the 8 Pro. Yes, that's the whole lineup. And you can pick whichever one you get. And regardless of whichever one you get, you're still getting that OnePlus experience. The Nord is a little bit of an interesting conversation because of the way they're putting it in. I realize that the N10, although more price friendly, won't receive as many updates as far as the other devices. So there's a little bit of trade-offs that we need to make with this conversation. So yeah, definitely one of those things I always want to see how they do it, and hope that we can see. My hope essentially is that they just basically, I would say, maybe stick to what they have right now. Oh, TK, you managed to sell the yes. In the UK, we have people selling the PS5 for double, and on eBay, Facebook, and Marketplace. It's so I was very much adamant about trying to make sure that I get retail. There's no question that it's the same thing here. So there was the site that I usually like to go buy things off of is Swappa. I usually sell my devices back on there. They had them too. It was basically doubled. I mean, there was a few people in my area that were like for the disc model that they were asking like $1,260 for a retail unit that sells for $500. I mean, it's already expensive retail, but to triple the price just to get the unit. And I'm not sure how many of them sold it at that price, but the average price was still about I would say maybe a 1.7 factor of the original price. And it's hard. It's hard, right? I'm not trying to justify. I'm not trying to justify and say that what they're doing is right. I think what they're doing essentially is taking the opportunities of people that truly want to buy these devices to play with them. Meaning, like you, me, and Matt Tyler, that want to actually get these, the either PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, because we truly appreciate the platform and we want to be able to enjoy them at our home. They're buying them and reselling them, and because of what they're doing. Last week when I was standing in line trying to go to Walmart there was a mistake on Friday where their system somehow showed local stores having certain stock. It turned out to be, and I don't know how realistic it is, the numbers that they were showing us were pre-orders being delivered to the store for people to pick up. But anyways, I was standing in line and it was 4 people ahead of me, or 4 or 5 people ahead of me. But as we were waiting for the store to open up, one person brought in 2 other people, and they're all standing there talking about how much money they're going to be able to resell these devices for. So it was very disheartening, saying that the chances of me, average Joe, to go get it, I'm not trying to resell it, is diminished by just the factor of what they're doing. So I'm really sad to see how thing is. But I also feel like I think PlayStation, Sony, as well as Microsoft should have planned better for the year of the current situation. They know people are going to be home. They know people are going to be more likely buying it online. I'm still trying to find out, to wrap my head around, that there are still some retailers trying to do Black Friday doorbusters, meaning with social distancing and trying to keep people safe. They're still trying to get people to kind of, stand outside in lines in front of their stores on Black Friday or, Thanksgiving evening to try to sell things for, a little discount for depending on what item you're trying to pick up, and still do that responsibly. So those are the things I feel like they should have planned better. They should have had more sales and be more realistic. Walmart finally started to actually put in some bot fighting maneuvers where they're putting the CAPTCHA checks, but it's almost impossible to buy it through their website. They've restocked it a few times. Every time I see it, I add it to my shopping cart and I try to go through the checkout process. And guess what? Before I'm even able to go through, it's out of the shopping cart. And it happened over and over. And it's frustrating. But yes, it is really bad. I luckily was able to get one on retail, but it was part of a bundle. But luckily it was a good bundle that I liked. There's one piece that is something that I wasn't necessarily very fond of, but the good thing is because I bought it from the store, I'm able to actually, once I get my system, I'll be able to trade that in for something else for the PlayStation, or even pick up maybe some Dragon Ball stuff. Those are the things that I'm actually interested in. But yes, thank you, Joe. Um, oh, I think we jumped on that one. Joey B, I think you were jumping in there. Oh, Marilyn is in the comments. Hey, good morning, Marilyn. How are you doing? Uh, Oh, okay. I think I jumped in. Okay. Okay. Here, let me see here. Fat Produce is jumping in. Is I wonder why these sorts of issues keep cropping up in standard glass slab devices that are around $1,000 plus. I want to say it's. I don't know if it's the new tech. I don't know if it's the rush to production type of thing. They need to be there. They need to make it really really nice, or it could have been basically a slip of QA in their quality assurance department at the time. But I would say it's the first batch. If anything, there's definitely going to be able to fix it. My goal is to try to replace it, and we'll see how that goes. Scott's good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, man. Mehmet's saying, what do you think of Meizu? So I've used Meizu devices in the past, and typically they tend to be a great features. They usually tend to be a good price for the feature kind of feature set that they offer us. Haven't had a chance to play with them much here in the US. The UI, I think it was a Flame OS, if I'm not mistaken on the name, was a little bit too different than the standard ROM, but I typically just install my custom ROM on it anyway. So overall, I think Meizu devices were very nice. They did, sorry. For a while, they were offering very interesting technologies with new developments in their tech. So I definitely appreciate what they're offering. But unfortunately, again, in the US, we just don't have that. And it's very, very minimal coverage as far as in the recent years. Meizu kind of gone under radar for mostly, at least on our side, even in the European market. Davin says, early adopters struggles are rough, especially whenever there's 11 units happen. I have to say, yes, and it's also one of the other things I was kind of concerned when I picked up the Series X. I saw some concerns online talking about people having problems with their drives because I did buy it. So the Series X, I purchased it off of Swappa. So that one was somebody else's purchase from Costco. But for me, that was also a concern. But knowing that it was purchased from Costco, I also have the purchase receipt. I can technically go in and get it exchanged if I have any problems. So there was it wasn't as bad of a concern. But issues like that, those are definitely big factors into making a decision to a Gen 1. Somebody put out a comment and said, don't buy Gen 1. But the reality is most people are only hyped about Gen 1. You get hyped, you get excited about Gen 1. Yes, they may fix the problem with Gen 2, but the reality is that's the new tech there, right? So, first version of Galaxy Fold had a big push behind it. Galaxy Fold 2 has a big push behind it as well, but not as big as the first one. And we'll see what they do with, in the next year, in the next models, and whichever one they go with there as well. Joe Hickey, TK's beard, bro. Yes, definitely, dude. Absolutely. I was watching the show and I'm like, dude, I found a bro on the other side right there, man. Absolutely. If you, me, Sam and Matt are in the same show, I can pretty much almost guarantee that the show would have been called the Beard Show or something like that. Because with the exception, I think was one of you guys. I think it was just it was like a little bit of stubble. Everybody else had like a they were running their beard. It's no shave November. If you're not participating, you should. Oh, Scott's in the comments for sure, man, for sure. Absolutely. IR 1980 is jumping back in here. Is in your opinion, which list of phones over the past maybe 2 years have had the best haptics on smartphones when it comes to feedback and keyboard typing experience? Do any specific ones stick out? I think the ones that generally stick out for me are the ones that typically have not so good haptics, because for the most part, I feel like most devices, and I realize that we're referencing devices in different scales, right? Meaning where it starts from, where it is. I want to say Pixel devices in general have been okay for me. I want to say OnePlus's biggest challenge has been where I feel like it's almost like it's a conscious decision for them to have a different type of haptic feedback when it comes to their standard line, like the 7, the 7T, comparing that to the 8T and the 8, or even the 8 Pro. I feel like the 8 Pro has some of the best haptics in there. Samsung has pretty decent ones. Sony actually has been doing pretty well with their lineup this year. I think overall, I really haven't had an experience other than the 7 and the 7T that gave me a little bit of a difference, even though they technically were an upgrade from what we saw with the 6T the year before. So in general, I mean, obviously mid-range to low-end devices are definitely going to be a little bit of a concern. So the Nord, I would probably say, didn't necessarily have the best haptics in there, but it was decent, again, for the price point. You have to kind of then at that point start kind of gauging what you're looking for what you're paying for. If you're paying $1,000, you should be getting the best of the best. You should not be getting something that is running haptic issues, and this should be flushed out in the design as they're putting it together. This should not be a compromise. But OnePlus is definitely listening to their consumers. I would almost say the ones that are not the best are the ones that stick out, but they can definitely improve and get better at them over time. Let me double check here. Earl, PlayStation or Xbox? Ooh. I'll say this. I upgraded from the Xbox One S. Okay, so I've had the One S for some time. And I think that one came out in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it's about a 5-year-old model. I'm going to say right now, look, I have both. I haven't upgraded my Xbox. Sorry. My PlayStation that I currently have is the PlayStation 3. I also have the Xbox One S. Now, the Xbox One S came out after the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 is definitely a lot older. And I've had the PlayStation 1 prior to that. So I tend to not go for the PlayStation yearly upgrade. So if I had to kind of say which team right now, I'd probably say Xbox, mostly because of the way I have everything kind of integrated. And I actually own the original Xbox, the 360, the Xbox One S. I didn't go for the One X, but I did go with the One S. And now with the Xbox Series X, I didn't decide to go with the digital model. I wanted to go with the best model. And the improvement going from the One S to the Series X is like night and day. Load times, gameplay, downloading, the Game Pass functionality is just really nice. And I feel like Game Pass right now, when you compare that between the Sony Pass, it's just a little bit more. The game selection is definitely much better. You're able to play them on the PC as well. So there's that factor into it. Not to kind of say one is bad or one is good. Right now, I would probably say Xbox Series X. Talk to me again or ask me again next Saturday and we'll talk about that as well. But Joe will definitely jump in and say it's PlayStation. Of course, Joe and Matt are going to be PlayStation buddies always. Good. Oh, wow. Sakham. Hopefully, sorry, good morning. Hopefully you're having fun and kicking it with us. Oh man, it's 11 o'clock at night in Turkey, man. It is. So if it's 11 in Turkey, I'm almost tempted to say, Mehmet, that it should be at the same time in Lebanon, because Lebanon should be like around the same place. So it's either 11 or midnight. But thank you for everybody for hanging out. Sakmat is asking is, what do you want to say about the OnePlus launching new phones regularly strategy like Nord series? I think OnePlus was kind of in a position that they needed or they had to release the Nord. If you look at the lineup of what OnePlus has been working on as year-over-year upgrades, in 2020 they started off with the 8 and the 8 Pro, but the 8 was 700. It's already 700 plus. Right, the 8 Pro was at best like $1,000. So their two best devices, or the two devices that we always looked for, were in the upper echelon of the $500 to $1,000. So it's already kind of flagship pricing. They lost that flagship killer, the mid ranger, or the best bang for the buck price point once they left the 700 series range. And I think the Nord was, as you probably already heard, was originally supposed to release at the same time as the OnePlus 8 and the 8 Pro, so that they kind of gave you that trifecta, right? The mid-range, price-friendly. Okay. Sorry. I'll jump back on that comment right there. So when we look at it in the way they did that, they needed something to be in that price point. They needed to be in that mid-tier price point that offered you the best experience, the best price for the features that you're getting. I think the OnePlus Nord nailed it right on the tee there, which I feel like is the best way to look at it. You have the mid-range OnePlus, you have the mid-tier, almost like I would say an affordable flagship version, which is the 8, and the 8 Pro is their flagship. what we saw at the end of the year is that we saw two additional Nords. So you have the N10 and the N100, really even lower, less expensive than the original Nord at around 150 to 300 bucks. Sorry, euros, depending where you are, 350, depending where you are in the market. And of course, we saw the AT. I like the lineup that they're doing. I'm not sure if they needed that many phones. I feel like the OnePlus, the Nord N10 being at around 250 to 300 euros or pounds would have nailed it right away. I'm not sure if the N100 is specifically made for just to give you guys like the and which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen the articles talking about the fact that even the N100 has a 90 hertz refresh rate, not a 60 hertz as previously believed. So again, things like that are always nice and surprising. And we're seeing SD cards come back. So I'm excited to see what OnePlus is doing. I'm also very excited to see what they can do in 2021. That 65-watt charging that we saw with the OnePlus 8T is definitely very exciting for the 9 and the 9 Pro. So we'll have to see what they have to offer us. And of course, with the optimizations that we see with the 875 that comes out, I'm still putting my money on the fact that it's going to be a 5 nanometer chipset. It's going to be faster. It's going to be better 5G, all the things that we normally expect, Qualcomm to offer us. But again, with that nice little flair of what Qualcomm can offer and OnePlus can give us as well. The iPhone 12 Pro or the Pro Max, which one would you prefer? For me personally, if price isn't an issue, I would almost always go for the Pro Max. If I'm thinking about getting a brand new phone and I don't already have a Pro, if you have an 11, if you have already an iPhone 11, I already have the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I actually purchased the 12 mini mostly because I wanted a kind of a contrasting conversation. The smallest iPhone in 2020, comparing it to the iPhone, well, the best iPhone that they had in 2019. So I always go with that because of the larger display and of course the bigger battery. Not specifically and only about the camera lenses, because the cameras are always going to be great when it comes to iPhones, especially for video. So I feel like you're not really getting that much of a big difference. So for me at least, I would go for the Pro Max. Now, coincidentally, you are also looking at slightly different optics here when it comes to Apple. This is the first year where they changed the optics on the Pro Max, giving us a much more unique experience. So in a sense, the best of what they have to offer in the Pro Max. So if price isn't an issue, I would go with the Pro Max. But again, it depends on what you're looking for to get out of that device. Oops, I just realized there's a few extra comments that jumped in here. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm back where I was before. iPhone 12. Oh, Aditya jumped back in. So for the best haptics IR, I think the LG G7, the haptics are crazy well. Wondering how the G8's been doing for you, Aditya. Let me know. I think Meizu phones was as iPhone phones before. It depends on, like I said, it depends if you're in a market where they are sold. I think that's primarily the biggest thing here. Davin jumping back here. I think OnePlus should offer 2 years of software and software updates on their Nord line. That could be the edge in the cheap market versus the 1 year, which I think is a big thing, right? Because they're releasing them with Android 10, right? So by definition, with the fact that Android 11 is kind of already out, we already know that that's going to be that one version upgrade, which I feel like it's kind of like, it would have made more sense to me if you, like, at the end of the year when we already have Oxygen OS 11, I think release the N10 and the N100 with 11 and then give us 12. That would have been an easier way, kind of like to feed into that. How do you kind of bridge the way between the two? I don't think it's necessarily the only way for them to do it, but they really need to offer us an experience where they need to make sure people are comfortable knowing that they're going to be receiving software updates, knowing that they're going to be receiving, software, patch update as well as operating system upgrade. So yes, 2 years minimum, I think would definitely be a great experience for all of these, especially for the Nord line, because a lot of people are jumping into Nord because of the price points, because of what they're offering, because it's, OnePlus. Coincidentally, Nord, it definitely, I love the standard Nord. I really feel like we should have received it in the US, but I still am very happy that I was lucky enough to be able to try it out, the Nord from at least the current version of it, as well as the N10. The N10 is actually very, very nice. Slight shift, IR 1980 is Chromecast with Google TV or the Mi Android stick. Which one from your experience is better so far? From using both of them, I would probably say they're slightly different in price, right? They're about 10 to 15 bucks cheaper difference between. So the Mi Stick runs a little bit cheaper, and of course the Google TV is about 50 bucks depending if you're able to get it. Um, Overall performance and availability, I feel like the Mi Stick is available in more markets than the Google TV. If you're able to get that, I would go for the Google TV, mostly because the current version of the Chromecast with Google TV is running a much better UI element. The interface is a little bit easier as far as finding recommendation, watching content, integration with the Google Assistant. The Mi Stick is still running Android 9.0 version of Android TV, which is not that there's a problem there, and you can pretty much sideload the new Google launcher to it. I feel like the SoC on it is not as fast, which is, I feel like, where the experience gets a little bit different. They're both pretty comparable, and it depends really what you're looking at if you have availability. If you can pick up one or the other, go for the Google TV. It's about 15 bucks more if you're okay with that. If you want to be able to save some money, I feel like the what you get there is definitely pretty decent, although there is no 4K on the Mi TV. That's a 1080p to Android TV stick. So there is that also compromise there. 4K is what you're getting there with the Google TV on the new Chromecast. But I would, yeah, if you're able to get one or the other, definitely jump in on the Google TV if you're able to. Oh, wow, Greece. Oh man. Okay, so it's 10:11 in Greece. Man, good. Well, good evening. As they say in Lebanon, Masal khair. Bangladesh is 2:13 in the morning. Sajid, good morning, man. Good morning. You guys are way ahead of us, man. Joey B's answer question is nice to see Apple joining the Raw Club. Lol, TK, everyone is in the stream, man. From Viegas, Viegas. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. But yeah, no, it's something that we finally want to be able to kind of jump into, right? I mean, they announced so many things at launch day, and then we have to wait as they drop all of these features on their devices. But absolutely, raw support definitely very nice. But we don't use the European. Oh, you don't. Yes, so it's the same thing with Lebanon. We didn't use the Europeans. In the U.S., we call it military time, which is really different. We don't even call it the European system. The timing system where you use 2000 and 2100, those are in the U.S. referred to as military time. In Lebanon, we don't. Yeah, unless you're speaking in English or in French, you generally do not refer to it. We just call it 11 o'clock at night. We don't even say PM. We say at night. So there's like 11 بالليل. Scott's asking, what do you think about the rumors that Samsung Galaxy Plus phone will have a 1080p screen? Is that really a plus? I don't think that's a plus. No, there's a certain level of expectations you need to have when you're looking at devices, because if you're looking at the price point of what they did with the plus sign price for the last few years, last year in 2019 the plus was about $1,000. This year it's about $1,100. So you really have to kind of start kind of gauging what you're getting. If you're getting a device that's a 1080p display at the plus, they did that to us with the Note 20. They gave us a 1080p panel on a Note 20 with 60 hertz refresh rate as opposed to the 120 hertz adaptive refresh rate on the Note 20 Ultra. I really feel like Samsung's stretching their lineup. I'm not sure if they're still trying to gauge the experience, but I probably would say the 1080p panel should be reserved to their standard model. The Plus and the Ultra should always have their higher end displays, because the definition of Plus, it's more than what the standard is. I mean, if the standard is, let's just say this, if the Plus is a 1080p, what's lower than that? Right? Unless the Plus is the standard model, then something that has to be less on the standard model. So I'd really be worried to see, but I agree with you on that one, Scott. I don't think this is something they should be doing. Let me double check. I think I skipped a few comments here. Oh, Saksham. Okay, sorry. It's two separate words. Okay, Saksham, ahlan. Welcome, man. Thank you for breaking it up for me. I did not want to mess it up because I assumed that the K and the S connected, and I could, like I said, depends on the when you're reading it from different places. Saksham's coming back with another one. Is there a need to upgrade from the iPhone 11 to the 12 or the 12 mini? Absolutely not. Not even close. There's really, the 5G is not an answer, and it's not a reason. There's no reason to go from the 11, honestly, other than the fact that you want to say that you have the 12. Not saying you would, but sorry. Oops. spilled some coffee. Sorry, did not mean to do it. But other than the basically, we have Goku again. Other than to say that we have the 12 or you have the 12, there's no reason. The camera optics performance, iOS 14 runs just as good. Aditya is coming back. The haptics on the G8 are a bit anemic, especially because I'm coming from the G7. The speaker quality is on par, and the ability and the usability because of the screen vibration as it vibrates. Yes, so there's the boom box or the boom effect that they did. It's better than the G8, G7. I think that was one of the ones that you have to try. And once you try it and you hear how the G8 can sound, how loud the G8 can sound when you put it. I don't know if you've tried this yet, Aditya. Put it on an empty box, like the case, the top part of the case, the box that your phone came in. Put it on the table, and just play it and raise the volume and see how the echoing works. That sound chamber that they have on the back of the G8 was definitely one of their better designs. But they replaced it with stereo speakers in 2020, so it's a different approach, but definitely nice. Miguel's jumping in. OnePlus has been getting worse with timely software updates in the past 2 years. They aren't where they used to be. I think that has a big factor into that because of the what they're doing with having so many devices. Realistically, their software team is having to develop software for multiple devices, where they used to be 2 phones in 1 year at the beginning of the year and then 2 phones at the end. They're going now, in at least with this year, they have 6 devices and upgrades. I think we're still waiting on the 7 and the 7 Pro to receive the Oxygen OS 11 update. I know the 8 and the 8 Pro did receive it. So those are things that I'm with you with the software upgrades. I realize that they're not as consistent. They used to be on the month, right on the dot. We would get an Oxygen OS upgrade. We'll have to see how things go, but my hope is that they're working on that. I think more people are more aware of the software updates now that we're all sitting at home and on our devices more often, because we tend to keep track of it more often. In the past, most people will probably see it every once in a while, and they thought everything was good. But I feel like, I'm with you. We need to have better updates. We need to have better support. And sadly to say, though, the story for software update gets worse when you start talking about a carrier version of a phone. Namely, and I'm not trying to fault anybody. I'm not trying to say it's somebody specifically's mistake, but when you get a device, let's say a OnePlus device that is a carrier specific one, like the T-Mobile model, even if OnePlus releases their update on a timely manner, it still gets delayed based on what T-Mobile has to do to get that software certified or authorized to go on their version of the device, which is different hardware-wise and software-wise. There are different implementation of what they're doing with the soft. So it's something to keep in mind. OnePlus is having a little bit more challenges, and they're starting to become more available, obviously, on different carriers, T-Mobile, Verizon, so on. So it is becoming challenging how their software updates have been doing. But I hope they do definitely get it much better, get it at least back to somewhat of a normal schedule. Joey Beast coming in with anyone else getting that free gift from YouTube Premium for Chromecast Plus Stadia. So what Joey's referencing here, if you guys are not aware, if you haven't seen this yet, if you are a YouTube Premium subscriber or YouTube Premium subscriber, so you've been subscribing to it for some time, if you use it, there is a promotion going on right now where you're able to get, I think it was 3 months worth of Stadia subscription, Stadia Pro, plus you get a Chromecast Ultra and a controller from Google for free, just for the existing subscription. I think that's a great way for Google to not only expand their number of subscribers, but also to get people to try it out. Also, the Chromecast Ultra, I really love the Chromecast Ultra just from what it offers, with the exception of the fact that it does not have a remote. At least to my understanding, is it should be receiving the Google TV update at some point to enable us to have that same UI. So you'll be able to interact with it using your phone or buy a remote for it. But the short answer is it's a really nice option. But yes, I personally took advantage of it, Joey. But because it was so popular, the controller and the Chromecast Ultra that I had ordered, because it comes with it and you have to order it, won't be here till the late part of December for me. So I'm so far on the list of things. I'm just happy I have my order and it's free. It's like, that's the only thing I'm saying. We'll have to see how that comes in. But I've been playing sorry. I've actually been playing a little bit of the Stadia Pro on my desktop PC. It's actually reasonably, really pretty decent. You can play it on almost anything that has a browser, PC, Mac, Windows, whichever. Chrome OS, of course, will definitely work on it. My only concern that I'm thinking at the time was is the fact that I was trying to use a keyboard and mouse on a game that wasn't designed for a keyboard and mouse. So that would be my only thing. But definitely check it out. If you guys have YouTube Premium, you got to check it out and see if that offer is available in your area. Oh, Davin is jumping back with Joey. Let me double check here. Oh, hey, Ronaldo's in the chat. My Tech Reviews, guys, definitely great guy. Ronaldo and I were sharing some experiences when it comes down to Walmart and their pre-order system for the PlayStation. Let's just say that we had it in our shopping cart so many times, and so many times it just slips. But we'll have to see. Aljosa, thank you very much for the super chat. Stabilization aside, is difference in video quality between say a V60 and the Galaxy phone versus an iPhone really big? What makes Apple so good? So let's take stabilization out of the conversation, and let's just compare the V60 to the Galaxy phones. What you're getting with the Samsung phones overall, and I'm talking about the higher end Galaxies, obviously not we're not talking about the S20, but I'm talking like the S20 Ultra or the S20 Plus. There is a big difference in processing, the way the device is actually running and doing things as far as the camera optics and the software that they're using behind it. I feel like the V60 overall provides me better pro level tools in the camera app to control audio and video than what I normally get when I'm using a Samsung. Now, Samsung did introduce the new version, which is they're calling their Pro Camera app, and that gives us the ability of using Bluetooth audio onto them. Finally, with the Note 20 Ultra now, and we're starting to see it on other devices. The biggest difference when you start talking Android versus Apple, when it comes down to video, it's the color science. But also the color science matching between the different lenses. When you take a video, let's say a 4K 60 video on your iPhone on the back, and you take it with the wide angle lens and the standard focal length, or even if it's switching over to the front, the footage between all three of these cameras looks like it came from the same camera with a different camera lens attached to it. So there's a lot of improvements done on the processing horsepower that's coming in the background when it comes to iPhones and it comes to video. I think Android has done great in the sense of what they've been able to do with stabilization. So we've had the cropped, where they shoot in 4K and they crop it down to 1080 and they give you that stabilized gimbal footage. Those things that we've been seeing with Android for quite some time. And I'm not saying that they're bad. If you're looking for a great experience when it comes down to cameras, right now, honestly, I feel like the V60 gives us one of the better ones on Android. And when it comes to basically Apple and iPhones, they've been doing it consistently for some time. I feel like where they're lacking, which is kind of like the opposite of where Google is that where their photography is not exactly at the highest level, that's good. Their video is pretty good, where Google has almost perfected the video, the auto, point and shoot type of an experience on a phone. And the video is where they're needing to get a little bit better. We saw some new modes with the Pixel 5, the cinematic modes, the 24 frames per second slow motion, the pan shots. There's some new things that they're trying to do with the new cameras, but I still feel like for cameras, for photography, I feel like Pixel wins the biggest side. For video, I feel like it's still Apple when it comes down to their cameras. And of course, if you're looking for a better solution between the two, I feel like the V60 is a very nice combination of two, and it still gives you really good front-facing and back-facing camera experience. So thank you very much for the super chat, man. I always appreciate it. How do you get the Besta? I'm not sure, Philip, if you don't mind maybe reposting the comment. I'm not sure what you mean with that one. Oh yeah, so we're jumping. Let's see what else we have here. Let's put that one in there. Philip Turner, how do you get to YouTube Stadia? I have the Chromecast for me from subscribing to YouTube. I have the Chromecast from subscribing to YouTube TV. So I think the subscription is part of YouTube. So it's YouTube Premium, not YouTube TV. So if you have YouTube Premium, it's a simple Google search, and I don't know if somebody can maybe post a comment in the chat. Just do Google search for YouTube TV free Google Stadia, and I'm pretty sure you'll get the link right away. Essentially, it validates it through your account. You can try it with your YouTube TV. I'm not sure if it'll work. But this Chromecast Ultra is configured to work with the controller, the Stadia controller out of the box. So essentially, if your subscriptions allows you to win it, you're able to get it. They give you access to Google Stadia. You sign up for the Stadia service, and then within about 24 hours, you'll get an email with a code that gives you the ability of ordering the controller and the Chromecast Ultra for free. So it's not an instantaneous for both, but you can definitely check it out. A simple Google search. Again, I don't have the link right at the top of my head right now, but I'm sure it's easier. Joe's jumping back with I'm tempted to get myself a Tab S7 Plus. Content consumption and photo editing. Anyone recommend alternatives or think that that's a good choice? So for me, being that I use the Tab S7 Plus on the daily whenever I record my videos, I like it for for the size, for the form factor, for the gaming on it. I think gaming on it is really nice. So I play Xbox, the cloud version of Xbox, the Xbox Pass on it. It's really nice, man. The display is really clear, very fast, very made specifically for content consumption. It's not going to disappoint. I went with the Plus, not the standard S7, mostly because I also wanted the AMOLED panel, but I also wanted the bigger size. So if the dimensions of the device is not necessarily too big, you can save a little bit to go with the S7, but I think the S7 Plus will not disappoint. Great audio, great performance. I did hear some people were having concerns where the screen was having some issues after some time. So just make sure you pick it up from a place you're able to get a good, warranty on it in case you have any problems. But yeah, you're not going to have any problems there. I'm sure I'm sure everybody will jump in with there. Oh man, let's see here. Yeah, thank you, Davin. Davin, appreciate you jumping in. Aditya is jumping back in here. Man. So, but I did want to kind of comment back into the whole, just the overall experience of what you get with devices in 2020. The year is coming to the end. We're starting to see more devices. We're starting to see devices kind of dwindle down. There's a few more devices coming out. We saw, obviously, the brand new, the Poco M3 that's going to be coming out pretty soon. I wouldn't be surprised. There'll be maybe another phone or two in December or something like that. But Techtober was a massive month. Devices, and when you're looking to spend your hard-earned money on a phone, I don't feel like we really need to be looking at making compromises. I think we should be able to make a decision based on what we want to get out of our phone. We need to stop looking at the price tag and making that price tag decide if this phone is worthy of our attention or if it's good enough for what we want. $700 phone doesn't necessarily mean it's better than a $350 phone. Depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a good phone with a decent camera and good software update, and of course, good support from Google, I think the Pixel 4a is an absolute must. You have to consider it. You cannot skip it. I'm not necessarily saying that this is going to be the right answer for you, but it's something that you have to consider. If you're looking for 2020 to also kind of give you the best experience on a smartphone from the sense of a company that you may have stopped looking at or not even considering, LG is there. LG is back, and they're back with they're trying to swing pretty big this year. And I hope they continue that in 2021. What I would probably say is at the end of the day, when we look at different devices from different companies, Samsung and Apple are obviously going to be holding that $1,000, close to $1,000 plus market. But I don't really feel like they're giving us devices that are worthy of that price point. I don't think that the Note 20 Ultra, for what it offers, was actually priced right. I feel like that was probably a $1,000 phone, a $999 phone that they wanted to release, but they released for more. I'm not trying to basically discount the features that you get there. I'm not trying to discount all the technology that's in there, but literally 2 weeks after they released the Note 20, they took off $200 because they saw people not buying it. The S20 FE was coming out at $699, but then when the Pixel was released, got their price cut. They dropped the price by $100 to make it more competitive with the Pixel 5. Again, I feel like prices are overinflated. I think we need to kind of get that price reduction, and I felt 2020 would have been the year to do that. This would have been the perfect year for companies to readjust their price understanding. I think Google was one of the first to start that because they did actually look at the price and they factored how much they wanted to sell that phone for into the decision of how they put that phone together. LG did the same thing by coming in with a $799 flagship in 2020 that offers us all of the main features, all of the things that we always look for: wireless charging, massive batteries, stereo speakers, the option of using a second screen, the option of using pen input on a smartphone for $799. Not a question, one of the best. OnePlus's solution in 2020, I feel like it's actually the better solution, in my opinion, than what we've seen in the past, giving us 3 different devices that answer 3 different things for us. It's not necessarily saying that the 8T is actually a slight upgrade from the 8. It truly is its own device that fits in that triangle, offering that they're giving us. We have the 8 Pro, the 8, and the 8T right smack in the middle, and it gives us the obviously new technology and a look forward to what to expect in 2021. So I think OnePlus is definitely a company to keep an eye out. The N10 and the Nord are definitely big. We need to see Nord come to the US. That's just a thing that needs to happen. OnePlus in the US has left that price point, that price market, and in other markets they've brought in the Nord, but the US we still haven't seen it. I want to be able to say that I want to see the Xperia Pro. I'm not sure if we will at the end of the year. This may end up be something that they announced in 2020 and they released in 2021. We'll have to see if they, we'll see it with the 875. We'll see some updated stuff. Excited to see it there. So with that being said, Gary, of course, always jumping in with that. Wishing everyone stays happy and safe Thanksgiving next week. Absolutely, Gary. It's with everything going on right now, with the numbers going up across the states, there's not much we can say for people than truly, please stay safe. Please take care of yourself. And if you're able to try to do some type of distancing or whichever kind of form of keeping everybody safe around you, hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Of course, that's going to be one of the big things. For us, we're doing a distant Thanksgiving, but it is 2020 after all. I feel like it fits the 2020 theme. Really, that's really what it would be. And again, thank you very much for the super chat, Gary. So those are the companies I feel like that we want to keep an eye out. I feel like Samsung and OnePlus will always keep churning out those devices. There are rumors that the S21 will be coming out earlier next year, which could also mean that Samsung is going to be releasing even more devices in 2021. It's like more of a gamut of devices, different sizes, different options. We're talking about possibility, of having S Pen input on multiple devices, not just Notes, and also that the end of Notes, which means potentially no more Note, meaning the pen that made the Note series be very unique, is pretty much going to be absorbed into other devices. Yeah, turkey. Safe turkey. Nice, Gary. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys as well. Yes, by next Thursday, by next Thursday, it would basically be the day before Black Friday. It's going to be one of those. IR 1980 jumping in with the Apple M1 SoC has excited many, but I want to see what Google's SoC would look like. I'm with you. I'm right there. It was. I'm not going to deny the fact that I was a skeptic when I first heard what that announcement of what the M1 was going to do. But then when I start seeing what the M1 is capable of doing with Apple's certified software, or so basically software that was designed specifically to run on the M1, like Final Cut and so on, I wasn't surprised. If you use an Apple, if you're a MacBook user or a MacBook Mini, and you are heavily invested in the Final Cut type of editing for creatives, for me, I'm an Adobe Creator user. It's definitely, you're going to see the benefit. I think the M1 is perfect, and it shows how much a company can do when they're able to control the whole process. Seeing maybe a Chromebook that comes with a Google SoC, a device, a smartphone that comes out with a Google SoC, can only provide us even more opportunities for what they can actually provide and give us into our devices. So those are going to be the big things that I always look forward to. Davin Davis with that one coming. Thank you very much for the super chat. Of course, yes, no, I did not forget. It is time, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is an hour and 52 minutes. We are just about that time. It is time for us to do our, as you guys remember, the TKception. So for that, if you guys don't mind, do me a favor. If you can just hit us in the chat real quick with just a few of those TKceptions real quick. We'll start kicking it up. Let's go ahead and hit the screen number 2. And we're going to kick it off with Davin again. Thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate it. And It never gets old. It never gets old, guys. Never. And you could see right there, Davin is in there. Earl is jumping in with take your vitamins. Thank you very much, man. Always appreciate it. Scott, TKception, man. Look at that beard, dude, with that Spider-Man shirt. You're killing me. IR 1980, always appreciated. My Tech Reviews, thank you, Ronaldo. And always Aditya. Oh man, Benedict Cumberbatch, always. TKception, TKR Bay, thank you, man. Oh, dude, Joe's jumping in with it too. Thank you very much. Thank you, always appreciated, Joe. And it's a good show because you guys are here. Honestly, it is. It's one of those things that you always like. You don't know what you're going to do on a show when you're sitting in. You're like, hey, what am I going to do the show on? And it always never surprises me that the level of engagement and just support that you guys have done week after week, and of course hanging out with me here, helping me with my I like to call them my therapy sessions of the week, kind of culminating and putting things together. And before we go too far, don't forget tomorrow afternoon, across the podcast at 1 p.m. Matt and Sam obviously back at it again, and of course Monday morning back at it again as usual. Some gadget guy, some guy that lurks in the comments. That's all I think I'm gonna say. And it's Juan Carlos Bagnell, and always appreciate it. And I'm seriously thinking I need to talk to Juan about trying to get together and trying to put some type of a show together, like a weekly kind of. Not necessarily just a recap, but just like a hanging out, talking, checking out what's going on with the week, and just kind of bouncing things off of each other. I always have fun having him on the show, and that chemistry that goes on air chemistry that they call, whatever it is, I feel like it's there. And I'm always feel like you guys will definitely appreciate and always enjoy that as well. Marilyn, I had that work quick. Hope Samsung integrates the pen into the phone, like the Note. I love the pen, but I always lose them if they aren't attached. We'll have to see how the integration does. You're right. If they decide to remove the Note where that pen is housed inside, it kind of falls into the same realm of having an external piece that you will more than likely lose. But we'll have to see how they approach it. My goal is essentially, I feel like a device that is big and that is essentially like a large, like an ultra type of a phone, whichever model it ends up being, should have no problem housing a pen. It may come at the price of a battery size, but we'll have to see how they make that marriage of functionality over battery capacity. But we'll have to see how that goes. And then, but with that being said, I don't want to take. Oh man. Always, guys. Always, Aditya. Thank you. Always, man. It's always it's one of those things I always appreciate, that the TKception kind of took its own like lifespan. It happens on its own, and I appreciate you guys always reminding me of that timeline. DT jump in. TK, I think someone on Twitter was suggesting an updated old phone channel. That may not be a bad idea, but we have to make some good recommendations for Quan. I would say first and foremost, he has to make sure that the quality check the phones before we get into the challenge, because that last challenge that we did was just a massive debacle. Not the last one, the one before last. And I do have to say though, I do miss the Duo. The Duo is. There's nothing like it. There's really just nothing like it. And I know Sam still enjoys his, obviously. But it's one of those devices that you have to use. And once you have that form factor, you kind of get integrated. You integrate that into your lifestyle of how to use a phone. You start missing it when you don't. Like, I mean, I can do a good number of things with the Surface, with the Duo, with the Z Fold 2, but it doesn't really replicate it. Tent mode is not the same when the phone doesn't open all the way to the other side. Davin is wishing everybody to be safe, of course. Thank you very much. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys are having a good weekend. I hope you guys, if you're in the US and you're going to take some time off during the holidays, please take that to relax and take some time and just connect with your family and try to, try to help yourself get over whatever burnout, whatever concerns, whatever issues that you may have had or throughout the year. Because I feel like this is what's kind of happening to us. We've had so much happen to us in 2020. We're getting down to the end of the year and things are getting a little bit amped up with the numbers that we're seeing. So stress level may be a little bit higher. I really would recommend to try to take some time and relax. It's a week of time off. For most people, it's a short week in the US. So if you're able to take some time off, hopefully you're able to relax and stay with the family and obviously stay safe. And of course, I'll do my best, obviously, to be back next Saturday. That's the plan. And of course, hopefully you guys will also have a great day. If you're looking to pick up some good deals on Black Friday and you see anything that is definitely intriguing to share with me, please hit me up. You can find me as usual here on YouTube as TK Bay, TKDSL8655 on both Instagram, Twitter, as well as Facebook. I'm still there every once in a while. I post things on Instagram that kind of carries over. Joey B, that brought back the M7, the HTC M7, the HTC One M7 with the original boom sound. I still have mine somewhere here. I don't think it. I take that back. I think it's still booted up. And of course, always, really would be really nice to see. So I'll say this. Thank you to IR1980, Mehmet, of course, Joey, Marilyn, of course, Joe, Davin Davis, Aditya, the OG Aditya and the new Aditya jumping in the comment, of course. We have Gary the Fireman, of course, as well. Scott, as always, Earl, Davin Davis, of course. I'm going through as many everybody else's comments, of course. Let me see. Covered Mehmet. We have Davin. I think I saw. Matt Tyler, of course, as usual, and of course Philip Turner. For everybody else joining us here, old school HTC, man. Old school HTC. Always. With that being said, stay safe. Be good to your friends. Again, I always say this at the end of every one of my shows. Call a friend. Get in touch with somebody you haven't talked to for a while. I am almost 100% sure they'll be more than happy to get in touch with you, to hear from you and know that you're doing well. And of course, we'll always be appreciative of that. Take care, everybody. Be safe, do more, do better. And of course, again, stay safe. We'll see you guys. We'll hang out again next Saturday, but I'll be in the chat with you guys tomorrow afternoon on Across the Podcast with Matt and Sam. Take care, everybody.